As always, Jared calls in with a Game of Thrones related question as we do a de facto Game of Thrones rewatch. We are racing towards the end of season 6. Oh, yes, we are. And we got a little bit of the Battle of the Bastards. Episode 9, Jared, we're up to.
I know, famous episode 9s. We brought in all the starting players for this one. Miguel Sapochnik, D&D. It's just, it's time. We've been waiting for this one. We knew it was coming. And they didn't fuck around with this episode. They went right for it. We get Danny lighting bitches up in Marine. Mm-hmm. And then 40 minutes of probably the best on-screen medieval fight I think I've seen in movies or TV show.
Let's focus right on that. First of all, you're right. I think this is the big Battle of the Bastards episode. This has perhaps one of the most famous shots in Game of Thrones with Jon Snow with pulling a sword against an army, which we can talk about because I think that represents a big failure in his career, though it's also a big courageous moment. I said career like he's a baseball player. But I do love Danny, getting back, getting a little leg up on the slavers of Slavers Bay. I think that sequence is all good there, and we can talk about it. But we got to go straight to the Battle of the Bastards. And you brought something up that I think is absolutely the legacy of this battle. It's perhaps the most realistic of the wild Game of Thrones battles that we see. We don't know how realistic the Battle of Blackwater Bay was because it was mostly off camera due to budget. Though what we saw is great because it's one of my favorite battles in the show and the books, even though it's very different in the books. You mentioned it, so take me through it. Why it's so wonderfully realistic?
It's just they really, I believe, took their time, and it just feels like they looked at or talked to people who know. Listen, if we're in a medieval battle, how's this looking? And you take like a cue from Braveheart from that piece of shit Gibson there. That it showed it's just a battle like that, horse and foot soldier, it's just chaos. I'm just absolute. And the documentary style shooting that they did, I mean, John gets saved by a random foot soldier, tries to give him a quick prop, and then that guy is just taken out. There's no time. And like you said, it's also the battle is completely John's fault. Like you said, it's the failure, the best failure of his command. That's a great example of how to fail upwards.
It is. And just in terms of the battle itself, I sometimes, this one gets all the headlines for good reasons, but sometimes I think I'm drawn to other battles in the show. And I rewatched this episode last week, and I realized because it's what you're talking about, it is so messy and chaotic, and you almost can't follow along, not in the way that later people would complain about some of the fights in season 8 because of just the way it looked on your TV screen. Like, it's so wonderfully chaotic, but you are pulled in. And I remember watching the episode the very first time. You've just had the John moment that we'll talk about in more detail here, but John had already died. He'd come back. So I understand he's got plot armor on. I never was separated from that idea, but they did such a good job, and Sapochnik and his team shot it so wonderfully well that I was holding my breath and thought, oh, he might go. Is this how he goes? Even though that's kind of a big suspension of disbelief. And that's part of the legacy of this battle. It was so realistic that you kind of felt you were there, and that's what it did to me.
Oh, it definitely did. And the way they got you too was towards the end, when it's just the piles of bodies and just the rampant chaos of people stepping over them. It's like, it's not going to be an arrow or a sword that gets them. It's going to be scared men running for their lives, and just like you said, I was holding my breath when I first saw that episode 2. I'm like, come on, breathe, dude, breathe, get a straw, something. Like,
and again, the legacy of this episode for me, and this has quite frankly been a point of contention with even people in my real life when we talk about Jon Snow as a character I look up to, a character I love, I think excellently portrayed by Kit Harington. But I remember some people watching this battle with me, the first episode, and they're going, it just seems like it's not John's making mistakes and it's not his character. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's what's going on here. And he's at his lowest, and he makes his biggest mistakes. And they've been building, as we've been talking through this season, just simply not listening to those around him, giving into his worst instincts. And that moment with Rickon, and Addie in chat screams out Serpentine Rickon, and yeah, so wonderfully shot. Again, you buy into it. The show has this history already at this point of going, yeah, we'll kill characters, right? That's built into the DNA of this story, but also as a show, we didn't shy away from it from season 1 on. But even at that moment, oh, Rickon got free, and then boom, gone. So it's all understandable. It's not me pinning all of this on John and you a-hole. It's realistic to me. Him giving into his worst instincts does make sense to me, but it was that. And that moment with the epic shot, it is perhaps the best shot in all of Game of Thrones for me. Him pulling the sword, the resignation of, I think at that moment, he gets it that I have mistaked my way into my death. He is saved by the people that love him, both in that moment and later on with his sister pulling in the army there. So I love that moment. And when I say it's a failure of John, as with a lot of failures in Game of Thrones, they're spectacular and important for us to learn from, I think.
Oh, definitely. And just to that moment, what the little decision, whether it was scripted or not, was what sold his defeat of that moment was not just unsheathing the sword, but taking off the whole friggin' belt.
Yes.
Like, this is going to get in the way. This isn't getting put away. You know, let's just do this. I'll grab that later. We don't need that. And again, it's just, like you said, he fails the entire battle. He lost that fight. Sansa won the fight. And we can't forget that. With Sansa won that fight.
Yes, and one of my favorite moments for him as a character, and then I guess her as a character as well, is him realizing in that moment at the end where he is about to beat Ramsay to death, and he looks over and sees whose victory this really is, not just in terms of the back of the scores and the stats in the back of a baseball card, but seeing how we got here and what is deserved at that moment. And we get one of the great Game of Thrones vengeance deaths with Ramsay at the teeth of his own dogs.
Right. It's just, he got off light in my opinion, but what a fun little thing that also this episode does character-wise is it reinforces who these two characters, Sansa and Jon, have learned from. Jon learning from his father, learning from Mormont, all these extremely honorable, honest men who just want to do the right thing. I mean, to save his brother, that's the right thing to do, right? It's the wrong move tactically. Right. And then Sansa being forced to live with the manipulators in King's Landing, then Littlefinger on the road. It's just like, hang on, you know what's going to win this fight? A well-crafted letter.
Indeed. A good letter indeed. Love it. Big stuff. This remains a standout episode for many. It is perhaps Sapochnik's calling card. I think Hardhome really put him on the map, but this is the one that kind of enshrined him into the GOT Director Hall of Fame with good reason, and a great episode. A lot going on, but this is just our rewatch at the big moments there. Davos is actually one of my favorites. Two characters for me to shout out is Sir Davos kind of having the sitting back there watching this happen with the backup, with the people in the back. All right, we're just wasting our time here. Let's get the hell out of there. I love that. And then we got to shout out 1-1, the Giant, who had a Boromir level final exit.
Oh, that boy is drinking good mead in Valhalla.
Yes, definitely. Love that there. Love that.
But next week, though, we got, like you said, we had probably one of the best standalone shots. But next week, I think we got the best smile in all of Game of Thrones.
We do, and I think the best season finale episode. And there's been some good ones in this show.
No, I can definitely agree with that. That was just, so happy to see the Sparrows get what's. Well, hang on, get me ahead of myself. Next week.
We'll get to it. So that's it. That's our GOT rewatch. I really appreciate Jared calling in with these and keeping me talking about Game of Thrones. Thanks, buddy.
Definitely. Have a good one, guys.